Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 22nd of February. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning for the first time this week by Joshua Barrie. How are we doing, Joshua?
First time in a while, Derek, actually, seeing as we've
actually
taken our respective breaks. So, yeah, good to have the dream team back together, although I have enjoyed my show with Stevie yesterday, thrown into the hosting chair in your absence, Derek, which is never comfortable.
You did a sterling job, and of course we were away, weren't we? You were in Italy for some time. How was that?
It was great. Yeah, I went to the Stadio Olimpico?
Yeah.
Which was good. Good experience to go there. So enjoyed it. Did you take? I don't know if you didn't take in a football game, did you? When you were away,
No,
did you?
I was in Norway. I did go to the Tromsø Stadium, famous for that night when Chelsea went up there when it was heavy snow, and it was covered in snow as well when I went up there. So not much has changed, but well rested, and we're back looking ahead to the big one on Sunday. Of course, the battle fever is very much on. Before we talk about Rangers and yesterday's press conference, folks, just about housekeeping as ever. Quick word for our sponsors, Seneca Hair Restoration. They are the #1 hair transplant corporation in Europe, no less, due to its elite hair restoration services and innovation techniques. Their mission is a simple one: to change people's lives and restore their lost self-confidence. And I've bunged the links, as always, in the description box, folks, so go do check them out if that is something you are thinking about. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, that is totally free. Over 11,500 of you now subscribing, so thank you very much. And we passed a milestone last night, 5 million viewers to our videos since we launched 18 months ago, which is quite incredible, really. It's quite staggering when you think of it. 5 million people watching us, Joshua. That seems mind-boggling.
Yeah, it seems a bit undeserved, but waiting for everyone, to be honest. But no, it is a good opportunity to say thanks to everyone for watching, because otherwise it would just be me and you having a long StreamYard together talking about Rangers. So that was nice to see that, and looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, most definitely. And just another word as well, you can see the little ticker below. Last chance, folks, to take advantage of not only the Rangers Review offer, which is just £1 for 3 months worth of content. That in itself is a fantastic deal, but we're also offering one lucky recipient 2 tickets to the League Cup final on Sunday. All you have to do is head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. But be quick, the offer ends at midnight tonight, so you only have just over 12 hours remaining to take advantage of that and be in with the chance of winning those tickets for the match on Sunday. You will receive a phone call. The winning person will receive a phone call tomorrow.
From Johnny. A phone call from Johnny.
Wow.
So there's an extra. That's worth £1 alone. I receive lots of phone calls from Johnny, and they're always fun. So you do as well, Derek, don't you? So for the phone call alone, but yeah, it is worth it. I mean, £1 to get entered into the ticket draw. If you watch us on YouTube, great chance to also support us, because you get 3 months access to the website as well. But it's important to say that it's also for current subscribers, Derek, and they should have got I think it's a form you get to enter in. So any active subscribers, our way of obviously saying thanks for all the support, and a great chance to win. So the link's on in the description, in the comments, and on the website as well. Plenty of places to find it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic offer. So if you've not got your tickets sorted already, folks, then it's a great chance to be in with the opportunity of going on Sunday. Right, let's look ahead to Sunday, Joshua, because the press conference took place between both managers. Before we touch on what Michael Beale said, interesting photo call yesterday where the two managers were sat side by side. You were there for us. Not seen that before in my lifetime. What was going on there?
No, it was a bit like a boxing event where they kind of bring them in together. And the first, when they came in together, I thought, surely they're not doing a joint press conference. That would be a strange thing to do. But no, I think it is just one of these routine things that happen at PR events before a cup final. And yeah, they had a wee seat together and then went and did the photos down by the pitch, which looks better, Derek. And I think both managers thought the pitch looked a bit better while caveating it with the fact that hopefully the weather's kind, so it stays that way. There's obviously no game beforehand, and last time at the semi-finals, the weather was particularly bad that weekend. I think especially on the Saturday when Celtic and Kilmarnock played, and then Rangers and Aberdeen were the teams that played second on that. But it did look a bit better. Still not a carpet, but you hope that for as much as the spectacle, as much as the game there, that it holds up at the weekend because of how bad it was, especially when Rangers played in the second game, as I say, against Aberdeen in the semi-final.
Yeah, just touching on the phone call tomorrow from Johnny Denzel says you can tell Derek's phone calls from Johnny aren't as much fun. Well, I can tell you, whoever gets the phone call tomorrow, they will be jubilant. So, yeah, that is for sure. Right, listen, I think you just mentioned a sort of boxing photo call. Wonder if that's a way to go moving forward, just to perhaps not that it needs sexed up, of course, but it would be certainly entertaining to have a sort of boxing style. I don't know if you'd get a slagging match. Football is a bit different to boxing, as you don't need to sell the fight as such. So, but yeah, it was interesting to see both managers sat side by side yesterday. Let's touch on the main takeaways. Joshua, Michael Beale, the first one, that's concerning a lot of supporters at the moment is the injury update. Now, the press conference did take place relatively early, so there is a considerable period of time between now and the final on Sunday, of course. But he touched on possible injury concerns. First of all, he said Kamar Roof had a slight issue after the weekend, unfortunately, so it won't be too far away from the team that played last weekend. And he touched on the players that didn't play at the weekend against Livingston. He says, no positive news at the moment. None of the boys returned to training today. The team you saw at the weekend will be very close to the one that starts on Sunday. If we get one or two additions back, that will be a bonus. Now, of course, Malik Tillman, John Lundstram and Ryan Jack were all missing from that match against Livingston after carrying knocks. Is this mind games, Joshua? Should we be concerned at this?
I think it's probably a bit of mind games, but also I don't think Beale's lying, because obviously the players, didn't return to training yesterday, but it is also 5 days before the final, so it's not as if this is a Friday before the Sunday game, Derek, and it really is a case of said players are going to have to pull it out the bag to be available. Beale also spoke about making sure that if certain players did declare themselves fit, that they actually were. Naturally, Lundstram, Jack and Tillman will all want to play in a cup final, especially when they've all played such a big part for Rangers this season. They've all played such a big part for Beale since he came in. This isn't three players at the edge of the squad that we're talking about. Tillman in particular would be really difficult to replace, even if Cantwell, I think, could slot into that midfield role well. Tillman's been the best performer under Beale, and for me, Rangers' best player this season. So it would be a huge blow to not have him available in the squad. But I do think it's a bit of mind games and keeping the opposition guessing to a degree, which is no bad thing, because the squad won't be that different. You could probably pick 9 of the players that will play. I guess there's some indecision in the middle of the park. I think if everyone was fit, it would probably be a Raskin and Lundstram partnership. Me and Stevie were talking about that yesterday, but I just think this is a type of game that suits John Lundstram. But then you could come back to it and argue, well, Ryan Jack was very good in the semi-final, one of the real reasons that Rangers made it to the final. Glenn Kamara's been steadily improving and has a lot of experience in these games. But I think the important thing for Beale is that although he has these injury concerns, he still has a strong squad to call upon. And if you go back to the start of his time at the club, Derek, he was picking the same team, and beneath that, there wasn't many options at all. He didn't have Roof or Cholak. He didn't have Cantwell or Raskin in the building. Certain players were still building up fitness. So if those 3 aren't there, then it will be weaker, definitely, but it'll still be a strong starting 11. But I think Beale, as much as anyone, will be hoping that Malik Tillman's fit to play, because he would just be such a big loss if he wasn't to make the game.
Yeah, lots of comments coming in with regards to those injuries. Dave Fulton says, Michael Beale just putting his hand close to his chest. I expect to see Ryan Jack starting beside Raskin. And Hugh raises an interesting point. Guys, I'll put you on the spot. Who's the midfield if all fit? I think I've said on record that Well, have I said him reckon? I'm not entirely sure. I think, I spoke with Stevie when we were on Monday. He would have Jack and Raskin in the middle of the park. Joshua, I think I would tend to agree with him. Would you deviate from that?
If Lundstrom was fully fit, I'd probably play Lundstrom, just because I think he's the player that's played that number 6 position the most under Beale, and it's generally been Jack and Kamara have rotated alongside him. I think Raskin played that well against Livingston, but it was interesting actually that Beale, off his own accord, went on to speak about how the 2 games that Raskin's played, Rangers have had a lot of the ball. It's been a specific type of game, and that will be different at the weekend. I think you want to use his qualities high up the pitch. We've got an article about his start at Rangers on the website, which you can go and read. But I think you want to give him freedom to go and press, to ensure the game isn't static. And Beale did say when he came in, it would be him and Kamara kind of competing for that role alongside another midfielder. And they were maybe quite similar players, and Jack and Lundstrom were similar players as well. I think if you can get Lundstrom's performance that he put in away at Tynecastle, similar to performance they put in at the last Old Firm at Hampden in April, then it's a no-brainer, because he, I think, is the most natural of those 4 to hang back. Even though we think of him still as a bit of a box-to-box player, I think more often in his Rangers career, he's played at the base of midfield, but he still has that energy to get up. I guess the question is, whatever has kept him out the squad, will that impact his match fitness? We know that he's played through stuff this season. He spoke at, I think it was after the winner at Ross County, he spoke about the number of injections he was taking to play. That's not a novel concept. Beale was saying yesterday, you're naive to think if players lace their boots up in a fantastic physical condition each week. But it's a big decision to make because that's such a key area of the pitch. And then it's a big decision to make who plays alongside them, because Cantwell filled in there at the weekend. Will he be thrown in at the deep end alongside Raskin? I think he would, and I think that would probably be the right decision. Beale was speaking about that as well, I think, to the papers, saying that sometimes it's good for players to come in and I guess be a bit new to the politics of it all and the nature of the rivalry in the Old Firm, and just go and play their football. Both of those players have been thrown in quickly and adapted to life quickly at Rangers, and I don't think there's much to suggest that would change too much at the weekend if they went in, because it is still a football game, even though the pressures will be unique to what they've ever played in before. I think Cantwell is the most natural replacement for Tillman if he doesn't make it, even if alongside everyone else, will be hoping that he does.
Yeah, what do you make of this comment from Magic Man 147? He says Raskin hasn't played with either before, talking about Jack and Lundstrom. Can't just throw them together in a final and hope they click. They will be training together, Joshua. Would you have any concerns about that? Would you maybe be inclined to, if they weren't 100% fit, to play Kamara alongside Raskin, given the fact they've played 2 games together?
I think it's a good point. And again, we raised this yesterday because Raskin's only started with Kamara, and yeah, it is fair. We don't know how much that comes into it in a game, but Beale has spoken a lot about relationships and connections. He's spoken a lot about that in different contexts when speaking about the side and players that know one another well, players like Morelos and Kent. You have, the back five is going to be the same. That's been unchanged for, a while. Ever since it's been settled, it's kind of stayed that way. You know that Kent's going to play. You know that Morelos is going to play. That's 7? I haven't counted my hands. You know that Raskin's going to play, I think. And then it's a case of who partners him in midfield, depending on the fitness. Who plays out of Tillman and Cantwell? Is Tillman going to be fit? And then who plays kind of in that right-sided role, which I think will be Fashion Sakala, because of the different options that he gives you and the fact that he played so well in the New Year Old Firm as well. I think to answer the question, though, it would be a risk. But I also think that Raskin seems like the type of player has played in big derbies before. And he's only 21, but one of the things that his ex-manager said to me was that he acts like a peak professional in the way that he self-analyses his game. I think you sometimes just get a sense with players that they are a bit mature beyond their years, and Raskin certainly with the start, although he's played in 2 games, as Beale said, where Rangers have had a lot of the ball, and he's still, by his own admission, not fully fit. I'd be tempted to start him just because I think already he's shown that he's got the qualities that this midfield have needed, and he's come in to start, so why not start him?
Yeah. We touched on, of course, Michael Beale was here when that the last Old Firm League Cup final in 2019. How Rangers lost that game, I'll never know. He was talking about that game. He says it was a disappointment. I thought we performed well between the two boxes, but we didn't execute what we had to do in a decisive game in the boxes. That's a regret, but that was in our own hands, that game against a very good opponent, but we didn't win the trophy. It's one we have that they don't have. It's the one that's missing. When he was asked to expand on his memories of the game, he responded, "I've just about got over it." That was one that's certainly one that sticks. I mean, we all remember the Morelos penalty miss, the offside goal, and what have you. Rangers dominated for much of that game. How do you see this one going, Joshua? It's a different Celtic team they're coming up against. Rangers, of course, in fine fettle themselves. What's the key in winning this one? Is it the midfield that we just touched on?
Yeah, I mean, to go back to the press conference yesterday, Derek, Beale has repeatedly spoken up this squad since he came back in. Going back to November when he made that comment, and he repeated it yesterday, saying that this squad isn't as broken as people think it is. And I think he's been proved right. I don't think that's to say that it still doesn't need a lot of work in the summer. And again, he's admitted that. It obviously needed some re-energizing in the January window, as is happening with two signings. But this is, and he's kept pace. He's not been able to close the gap, but he's had a perfect record outside of that Old Firm game. Celtic have as well, which is why for him that'll be frustrating, because he's done as much as he can with the situation he inherits coming in. But this is although this won't impact the league, I think this could just be such a big psychological win for his Rangers side at this stage in his career, because when he came into the club, the thought of, I think, being in a position that he is just now, where the confidence is restored, I think the playing identity is restored, the domestic form before he arrived feels a bit of a distant memory because the consistency has been so good. And it's interesting that when he was asked about that cup final, or when he's asked about certain questions, domestic trophies, he repeated the fact, looked back to the fact of Rangers playing in that European final, the Scottish Cup win. It's clear, I think, that internal confidence is what he's tried to reiterate publicly whenever he's had the opportunity. And this is, if he was to win this game, I think it would be so significant early on in his Rangers career. That game, you're right, it was I think it's probably quite indicative of where Rangers were at that point, because they were so good on the day, lost the boxes. They didn't have a goal scorer next to Alfredo Morelos. They did next season in Kemar Roofe. I think that made such a difference. And after that penalty miss, they never looked like they were going to be able to recover. And that's something that I think they were able to do under Gio in Europe, or obviously at Hampden last year. And I think they've been able to do it under Beale as well. I've no doubt, though, that the kind of public persona he gives of that game, of him being quite measured, won't be what it is personally, and it would mean an extra amount for him to win it alongside a lot of those players, because you could be speaking about the same back five, aside from Helander out and Davies in, Jack, Arfield, Morelos, Kent. A lot of players that were involved then will be involved on Sunday in one way.
Yeah, let's get to a few of the comments coming in, because there are loads like this from Francis. Will Rice get a chance when we go in 3-0 at half time? What do you make of him making his debut at the weekend, Joshua? 16 years of age, just fresh from captaining Scotland under-17s the day before, no less. What a fantastic weekend for the young man. I'd be surprised if he was in the matchday squad on Sunday. But great to see young lads coming through like that at such a young age. Yeah,
I mean, 16. That is young to play for Rangers, isn't it? That is young to play for. But no, good to see. Not watched him much at youth level, Derek. Only maybe 4 or 5 games. Obviously very comfortable on the ball and left-footed, which is always nice to see in a midfielder. But a great moment for him, and I'm sure his family, because to do that at 16, as you say, the day after you've went and played for Scotland at that age level, must be quite the buzz.
Yeah, absolutely. And a question coming in here from Donna. She said, "Morning, Donna. Do you think Michael Beale should try Morelos and Cholak up front together? I think he should give it a go, see how it plays out." That will not happen on Sunday, I can assure you of that, unless Rangers are chasing a goal, Joshua.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Beale's said a few times, he sees Fashion Sakala as a number 9. He might not be a striker in the conventional mode, but if you think of his role and what he's in the squad to do, he can stretch the pitch on the right and provide. I think Tynecastle was a great example of this game, of what he did in that game, and provide the running threat, or the Old Firm game where he obviously sets up Kent's goal and wins a penalty. But then he also gives you that those numbers over the course of a run of games that he's going to get you a second number 9 in the box, a pretty good goal per game ratio, which I'm not sure what the update is on that for the last few games. Whereas I think with Morelos and Cholak, we've probably not seen them together for a reason, and part of that is Cholak's fitness, because he's not trained all that much up until the last few weeks. I don't think they have quite that variation of skill set for a big game like this. Maybe they do in the final third, but I don't know if either of them are really going to run in behind in the same way that Sakala does, be able to start out in the right. And that's what Roof was able to do as well in the last title winning season. He not the same way as Sakala, but he was able to be an extra outfielder outside the box and contribute in that way. And then you get the benefit of his goal scoring now inside the final third. So I'd be surprised if it wasn't Kent, Sakala and Morelos, because they've played so many games together so far. And that right-sided triangle with Tavernier, Tillman it has been, and Sakala, but Cantwell at the weekend, I think that's worked quite well.
Yeah, I like this comment from Hugh. He says that Alfredo will start on Sunday. He'll be on a mission and they'll love him to get the winning goal. You and me both, Hugh. There's nothing better than a Alfredo goal, and especially one in a cup final against Celtic. I really want to see a knee slide at Hampden, so hopefully he can do the business. Another interesting takeaway from Michael Beale's press conference yesterday, just talking about that game and where it stands in the season. He says, after this weekend, my job doesn't get any bigger or smaller. It's still going to be a huge job come Monday, and my entry is going to be really big. This is a one-off game. Would I like us to be in an even stronger place going in? Yes, but I don't remember too many times when both teams were going in on the back of such long unbeaten runs. Naturally, something has got to give, and I'm hoping that I'm delighted on Sunday evening. I'm not lower than a snake's belly, but ultimately on Monday, we've still got a lot of work to do. We don't want to go too overboard on it because it's just one game. That was an interesting point, I felt, Joshua, and it ties in with Michael Beale. He's a bit of a perfectionist. He did touch on, he added as well that even after the game on Sunday, they still need to improve a further 20%. Which must bode well for where Rangers are at the moment, winning games, albeit some not convincingly, but they're certainly on the right path under Michael Beale, aren't they?
I remember the game after the game at Tynecastle when Rangers, the 3-0 game, and Rangers were brilliant on that night. It was the best domestic performance in a long time. And Beale came into the press conference and very measured, very the same, in a similar way maybe to Gio was. And I think that can be a strength to what he would call, I think, is wide-eyed and seeing the big picture. And you'll know that because obviously there's huge pressure on him to go and win this trophy on Sunday, but there's a realization that he's very much still at the start of his Rangers career, still managed less than 40 games, I think it is, in his managerial career, which is quite a mental stat to think of. Obviously, you know, he's been involved in the professional game for a long time. He's had such influence on a manager in his role with Gerrard in the Premier League, and we know about that when he was up the road previously in his role as first team coach. But yeah, to think this is under his 40th game as a manager is surprising. And he said yesterday it's such a huge privilege for him to get this chance so early on in his managerial career, which I think is absolutely true, because a lot of managers go a lot more games without getting to manage in a game like this.
Yeah, he added as well some interesting points. He said that I get that everyone is talking about the momentum that could be from winning this trophy, but after this, I still have a lot of work to do, whether we win or lose the game. Come Monday, my head will be firmly back on how I'm taking Rangers forward in the longer term. Listen, the League Cup is a trophy I want to win, but at the start of the season, I don't know where it is in the pecking order. It's not number one, so it's important that after this weekend, we get back to trying to pick up the trophies we want to. Of course, he's meaning the league title, which is the one is the number one every season, of course. But yeah, interesting words from Michael Beale. Some interesting comments as well coming in here. I wanted to touch on this from Connor. He gets in touch. Morning, Connor. Joshua, do you have any stats on through balls in behind the defence between Cantwell to Morelos and Cantwell to Roof? Notice a huge difference in Saturday between the two.
I don't have them logged here, Derek, to be honest, no, but I can look at that after Connor and DM me or something like that. But no,
Did you notice that?
Let me read the question. Cantwell to Morelos and Cantwell to Roof. There was a nice one that Raskin played into Roof, that Roof then tried to play on. I think it was to Cholak, that almost came off. But not that I didn't. It wasn't at the forefront of my mind. Contrary to your opinion, Derek, I don't spend my days memorizing stats, only sometimes. But no, it's an interesting point, because I think what Connor's obviously alluding to there is that Roof's movement, and what we've spoken about numerous times before, he's such an intelligent player. The only reason I think that conversation is limited is because he doesn't play that much. Cantwell, similarly, I think something that he spoke about when he came into the club was trying to see passes that others don't. If you look back at the first half, when he should take that shot and he tries to slip the ball into Fashion Sakala, who I don't think actually presumed that pass was on, he tries those clever little reverses. So I've no doubt that they'll have a good relationship on the pitch if, as we say, Roof can continue to make an impact in that way.
Yeah. Roof's an interesting one. If they can get, I know I touched on that. Michael Beale said he's picked up a knock from the weekend. I'm hoping that is just mind games as well, and it's nothing too serious, because, like you say, Joshua's movement is unreal. If they can get him fit and firing, I know that's easier said than done, but he's a real weapon up there for Rangers, isn't he? And he's someone that will certainly occupy the Celtic defenders if he plays. I know you touched on Sakala. Is it a debate for you if Roof is 100% fit and Sakala is 100% fit? Would you start Sakala over on the right, or would you be inclined to maybe start Roof over there?
I still think that it's not going to be a game that's decided in the first half. Rangers, I think, over the last, again, to go back to that last game at Hampden, will hope that they can play the long game. I think the game will be frenetic in the first half, and that will suit someone like Sakala. And when it slows down a bit, then I think it will suit Roof a bit more. So I would still be inclined to bring him off the bench, particularly because he's not started since that last game at Hampden against Celtic in April. I think that was his last start. So I still think that he will keep the front three that he has gone with so far, and have the benefit of bringing on Roof if he can from the bench. Maybe just in bringing up Roof's fitness, he's ruling him out of being starting, which you would hope, because if he was to not be involved in the squad, that would be a blow, given the impact he's made from the bench in the 2-3 games that he's come off the bench so far, Derek. Yeah,
absolutely. It would be good to see. I'm sure it will play a part if he's ready for action. Interesting point coming in as well here. Connor is again raises just on the back of that point regarding the through balls. Feels Sunday Ben Davis will be at his best playing against a Kyogo rather than a physical striker. Looking forward to the battles right across the pitch. I think that we've touched on this in a number of articles on the website, that the partnership between him and Goldson has been it's been night and day from the first half of the season, Joshua, when of course Goldson was out injured after that Liverpool game. Davis was struggling with niggles himself, but the pair have really formed a decent, solid partnership at the heart of the defence there, and it's no surprise to see why Rangers are now winning matches, whereas they were struggling before.
Yeah, I think it was about last week that we wrote a piece kind of comparing their different strengths and maybe why that matches up quite well. Davies is more regularly, I think, goes into the midfield tracking forwards, and Goldson sits back. Goldson is better at attacking balls in the air. All that's covered in the article, which I'll put in the comment section as well. But also, I think the noise around Davies is kind of quieting down, Derek. I mean, there was a time maybe at the start of the year after that game away at Kilmarnock where Kilmarnock equalised late on and he lost that header, even though I think it was Barisic's defending behind him that was suspect. Clean sheets will help do that, but I think people are starting to see what he brings. And obviously his on-ball ability, if he was a bad defender, which I don't think he is at all, I'm not saying that, but if he was, his on-ball stat ability wouldn't negate that totally, but I don't think you can underestimate how much a manager like Beale likes a comfortable left-footed centre-half. They're hard to come by. There's a reason that Rangers have really tried to have one, going back to obviously Hollander as well. Over the last number of years, but that back four is pretty settled now, and that was something that Beale didn't inherit. And ever since the game away at Ross County on the 23rd, it's been the same back four bar the cup game, and obviously McGregor's kind of gradually not become the number one again, but it's become clear that he is the number one after some chopping and changing. So hopefully it's a game that suits Davies, but I do think that people are starting to see how that partnership can work and how two different styles of defenders can complement one another.
Yeah, just touching on McGregor, just before we wrap up, of course, inducted into the Rangers Hall of Fame. Joshua, your thoughts on him? Davis and Tavernier being inducted on Sunday night. I'm all for them. I think that they're fully deserved. What's your feeling on those three inductees?
Totally agree. Part of me is sometimes a bit surprised when players are still. I know with McGregor and Davis they're at the end of the career, but Tavernier isn't. He'd I'm sure hope he has quite a few years still to go. So sometimes I'm surprised that players get inducted into the Hall of Fame when they're still playing. But I don't think there's much debate about it. For me, I can understand people look at trophies. I think you look at his performances in Europe last season as well, and those nights that are held, rightly so, in such special regards. Tavernier was probably the best performer in that group stage, in that knockout stage. Obviously the top. I think he was joint top scorer at the end of the competition. Is that right?
Yes.
With 6-7 goals scored in every round. Yeah, so I'm not always the biggest fan of including players when they're still playing, but I think it's totally deserved. You look at his numbers, obviously, which is almost at 100 goals, incredible. And McGregor and Davies the same because of the longevity of their service over two spells and the trophies they've won. McGregor, obviously, the record appearance holder in European competition. Davies, you just look at his career, even outside of Rangers, the fact that he's won more caps for his country than any other British player, I think totally deserved, and hopefully a boost ahead of a big cup final at the weekend with a trophy on the line that a lot of members of this squad actually haven't won.
Yeah, and we'll finish up with a couple of bits to discuss, folks. But Richard Balfour gets in touch. He's going for a 3-2 to the Toon and 3-2 to the Rangers on Sunday in normal time. Of course, our Newcastle Rangers supporter. The Magpies taking on Man United in the English equivalent down south as well. So, I'd happily take both those results. Newcastle going great guns under Eddie Howe, and hopefully Rangers can do the business as well. Right, folks, just a shout out here. I was sent a message from Angus McAllister from the Bangkok Rangers Supporters Club. He says, great show, watch every day via YouTube in Thailand. Looking for a shout out for the ORSA conference, the Oceanic Rangers Supporters Association conference that is happening in Bangkok between the 5th and 9th of July this year. Everyone from the Rangers family is invited and a great time is guaranteed in the land of smiles. Full information, he says, the events run from the July 5th to the 9th. You can find more info at bangkokbearsrsc.com/ORSA, and tickets are available. You can just visit ticketmelon.com /BKK Bears RSC. That's /BKK Bears RSC, and to get yourself a ticket for the ORSA convention later on this year. And just a reminder, we've got that giveaway on the website just now, folks. You can win 2 Gold Dust tickets to the League Cup final on Sunday. All you have to do is sign up to the Rangers Review, just £1 for 3 months worth of content. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details and be in with a chance of winning those 2 tickets for the match on Sunday. The winning ticket will receive a phone call from Johnny McFarlane, a personal phone call, no less, tomorrow to confirm the news. So, if you've not got your ticket for Sunday, then this could be your last chance to get that. rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe, folks. Okay, we'll be back again tomorrow. There is press conferences taking place today with a number of Rangers players, I believe. Joshua, is that the case?
Yeah, there is. I know it's funny that all this is happening days before because it feels like the game's so far away. But we'll have coverage of players on the website every single day of the week. So make sure you're signed up and keeping the track of the website. We'll have loads of content coming up ahead of the weekend. So as Derek says, just subscribe in all the right places, and hope you enjoy it looking ahead to the big game.
Yeah, lots of coverage coming your way, folks, ahead of the big one on Sunday. So stay tuned to the Rangers Review website and all our social media channels for all the latest in the build-up to the match at Hampden. Okay, we'll be back again tomorrow, but until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.